in this blog post. I guess some of the changes that the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, CNCF, has decided to take in the future. So just as a quick recap, Docker container runtime is going to get deprecated by version 1.22. So we're basically forced to migrate either to Containerd or CRIO. So here's a brief explanation of what it is. I'll just recap really quickly. Basically here everything is getting, let me make this a little larger. Everything is getting deprecated except for Containerd, which really behind the scenes is runc. And runc has some interesting features such as namespaces, C groups, and we'll see some of the architecture of Containerd. Let me start all over again. It was just a practice round. Actually, let's just continue. Okay, so there is a nice video on YouTube where you can find this architectural diagram of Containerd. So this is actually their GitHub repository. So here I've underlined the important portions. So runc, we already saw that kind of on the first diagram. We'll further down we develop a little bit more intuition of what that is. Our registry. So this is, I guess, like Docker Hub. This is where we keep our images, and the container runtime interface. And we will delve a little deeper further down as well. So zooming into the CRI, here we have a kubelet that talks to basically these three things. At the core, the core idea is actually here. We have Linux namespaces, Linux C groups, and processes. So a container, to me, is kind of like a process or a running program that's enveloped in namespaces, which is pretty much permissions, who can see what, and C groups. C groups is to control resources, so such as memory, CPU. So if you've run pods, you can remember that that you can set the resource limits, such as CPU and memory, on the manifests. So just going back here, what it's basically all this CRI is an interface of how I guess it's better explained further down here. Okay, here I've added the actual man pages just so you can see all the different namespaces there are. Actually, we can just go ahead and click the namespaces. So let's see. So yeah, these are, I guess, there are different namespaces that exist. One is, for example, you can isolate processes, you can isolate network, mount points, so for the storage, persistent storage layers, etc. So there are different names. These are actually Linux namespaces that even Docker uses on their Docker client. And C groups also, we've added the man page just for reference. And here we're showing a snapshot showcasing that that actually Containerd runs on top of the system sysd, the system daemon. And okay, so these are some very nice resources. This is actually from I guess the maintainers. They talk about actually they talk about the architecture, this architecture right here, and they delve into detail as of to what is each thing. And this is I thought it was a pretty cool video. I guess the image here shows what they're actually doing. So they're I recommend it just so you know what Docker is underneath the hood. Okay, so how does this connect to Kubernetes? I guess we've already seen that the kubelet interfaces with containerd, and then containerd goes and talks with runc. And then runc is actually, I guess, it's holding the processes somehow. We'll see an example later on. Actually, this video gives a very nice explanation of it, so I highly recommend it. It's very cool. Kubelet. Okay, what's the kubelet? It's the main agent that you have to install on each and every Kubernetes host that you're going to use, either master or worker. And what does it do? Just as it says here. Yeah, I sometimes figure out it's faster to read than actually, so have somebody explain something, but I'll just continue here. CRI, what is this? The CRI? Awkward silence. And here's the source. Also, you can access it. It's a good read. And important. And what is the shim? The shim is something that I guess that's kind of in there, but we don't know what it is, or at least I didn't know. And the shim is kind of like it allows runtime and okay, these two things right here. And I guess there must be some other stuff that it does. So okay, so here if we run actually on during the demo, I'm going to try to run this command so you can see I guess the processes, the process tree on the Linux, and you'll actually see the shim and the Kubernetes processes here. So here there's a kubectl get all, get pods, and you can see kube system, kube scheduler, and we have a kube scheduler here. Okay, now for the demo. We're going to do three things. We're going to set up a 3-node Kubernetes cluster. Of course, we're going to be using Docker. Runtime? No, just kidding. We're going to be using containerd. And also, okay, yeah, maybe just to show some CRT commands to pull, like maybe we can do pull a hello world from Docker Hub or something like that. And this link is not yet. That's a placeholder for the video that it's currently being. Yeah, what we're showing right here. And here's the code. So it's going to be available. Let's just double check. Okay, there it is. So let's just go ahead and run through these steps. So here I've added some scripts. First of all, how to install containerd and kubelet on each host. Either you can use CentOS or Ubuntu. I've tested Ubuntu 2020 and CentOS 7, and they seem to work. We'll run through CentOS. So this is going to install kubelet and containerd on each host, and then we're going to go to the master setup. So when we set up, oh sorry, I think it's, yeah, it also installs kubeadmin. And then when we go and install master, the master is going to do kubectl. It's going to configure kubectl as well. And then it's going to initialize a cluster. So it's going to the kubeadmin init command. And there are a few changes on this version 1.20.1, I think is the latest version as of today. So yeah, I guess let's just go down here.